All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. So our project is called Burger King Franchisee Performance Tool. And before jumping right into it, let me introduce our team. So this is Vincenzo. Vincenzo has more than 10 years of experience as a database developer. And my name's Anton. I've been working for Burger King for around 2.5 years. And let me give you some context in case you guys are not familiar with Burger King. So Burger King is a quick service restaurant chain that bases their business model in franchises. So the way it works is Burger King Corporation does not operate any restaurants, does not own any restaurants. They're all operated by third parties, that is, franchisees. And as per the franchise agreement, all franchisees must report to us their profit and loss data on a monthly basis. And you'd think that such a large corporation would have a very sophisticated and user-friendly system for franchisees to report this data on a monthly basis. Well, no, it's not the case. Just let me show you very briefly what a franchisee has to do when they want to send their profit and loss data for a given month. So first of all, they have to open an Excel spreadsheet and they have to manually input the P&L data for each of the restaurants. So here, each row is one restaurant, each column is one profit and loss account. And once they've started inputting all their data, they have to be aware of something else, that this file is super sensitive. So let's say that after inputting the data, they make the mistake of leaving a blank cell. Well, the file would break and we would lose the data for that entire restaurant. Let's say they decide to use a comma instead of a dot as a decimal separator. Well, the file would break and we would again lose the data for that restaurant. So you see that it's a very problematic file. Now, once the franchisee has inputted all the data, what they have to do is they have to save the file with a certain naming convention, and then they have to save it as a CSV file, as a comma-separated value file. But wait, that's not it. So now what they have to do is they have to connect to our FTP server. And to do that, they have to use some kind of software to connect that the franchisee has to download. And to connect to our FTP server, they have to use some credentials that we provide them, which is basically a username, a password, a host name, and a port number. All right. So once they're connected, they need to find the folder that belongs to them. They need to double click on it. They need to look for the file, the CSV file that they just created. And then they drag and drop it and hope for the best. Because you guys can see that this system is very, very complicated and it's not very intuitive. And the problem that we're having with this is that Burger King Corporation is effectively losing data every single month because franchisees either don't know how to use the platform or they can't be bothered to use it because they find it too complicated. So let me show you guys what Vincenzo and I came up with. So this is the tool that we designed. So this is the login page. In here, the franchisees would use the same credentials that they already have. And as soon as you log in, you immediately see a nice and concise dashboard where franchisees can see whether they have reported the data or not for all of the 12 months, and if the upload was successful or had some kind of warnings. Now, let's say I'm a franchisee and I want to upload data for May. So I will click on May. Let's do mass upload for now. And now here I get prompted by a button that tells me to choose a file. So here we're going to choose the CSV file that before we saw in the video, okay? And click on Process CSV. As soon as we click on Process CSV, our application that want to make sure that there's no formatting errors with our file tells us that there's an error in cell N3. Values can't be empty. So what we do is we go to the CSV, we fix the error, and now we choose the file again. And now we see that file validation succeeded. So now we know that you have a file that has no formatting errors whatsoever. And now we're taking to a detailed view, and in this detailed view, our application is going to make sure that we don't have any data quality issues. That means that we want to make sure that the franchisee is not sending us data that from a business point of view does not make sense. So in this case, the application has detected that there's 3 restaurants that have data that doesn't quite make a lot of sense. So let's have a closer look. For instance, let's check the first restaurant, right? If we scroll down, we see that there's a problem with labor. So apparently labor is too low. So we fix the issue, and as soon as we input a number that makes sense, the alert disappears and we can save the data. Now, note that this is not something that the franchisee must do. So the franchisee doesn't have to correct all data quality issues that we found, because the idea behind this application is that we wanted to build something that's non-disruptive. Meaning that the franchisee has to be able to do, or is able to do, the exact same thing that they were doing before, with no additional requirements, no additional limitations. So note that we have only corrected one of the data quality issues that we had, but the franchisee can still click on send data and send the data. Now, what's happening right now in the background is the application is compiling a CSV file with the newly inputted data by the franchisee, is taking that file, naming it correctly, and putting it directly into FTP server. So right now, if we go to the FTP server, we're gonna see, let me refresh, reconnect, sorry guys. And now we see it there. This is the file that we just created. So to sum up, we've created an application that first, it lets Burger King Corporation save a lot of working hours on working on tasks that are very repetitive and time-consuming. Second, we've created an app that lets Burger King have more data, and also it lets us have better data. So thank you, that's the end of our presentation, and feel free to ask any questions. Yes, please.
So it's about getting data to kind of assess the profitability of certain restaurants. So why is Burger King not taking the data as the people pay, because it has all the information that you need?
Sorry, why is Burger King not taking?
Not basically taking a copy of every payment transaction that is made in Burger King and stores it somewhere centrally linked to that restaurant.
Well, first of all, because we want to see the entire P&L, not only sales, right? And second, because very often we're not connected directly to their POS systems, to their point of sale systems. So we still have to request them to send us their sales data manually.
Yeah, I understand it, but wouldn't it be easier to actually directly connect to the POS system?
Yes, but that's actually like a massive project that's going on right now, because each franchisee has their own POS system. They have it's not a unified system, so franchisees can choose between different solutions. And now we're developing a unified solution that's going to make everyone be connected to a single system, but that's going to take quite a while.
Well, one more, yeah, one quick one.
Just a short one.
No free burgers. Sorry.
Yeah, is the next step of the project, now that you've corrected this CSV issue, should people be able to do something else than fill in an Excel file, like to limit all these errors?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we saw the input methods, there's also the single input method that takes you directly to the last input that you saw, the last form that you saw at the end. So that makes a lot of sense for small franchisees that only have a couple of restaurants. Instead of creating that awkward Excel file or CSV file, they can directly input the data manually. But if you're talking more about connecting their database with ours, that's something that we haven't looked into, but because again, each franchisee has its own system. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Thank you.